Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome this morning. Everybody survived the post-VBS kind of recovery period here. It's been a full time, and it was sort of a quiet week after having all the kids here for VBS, but at the same time, we're already gearing up for the next thing. We got activities related to the float and the parade coming up, and starting to focus more on the big anniversary party in September, and of course we've got our ice cream social coming up, and is that 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Yeah, okay, it's on the reader board. I just work here. What to say about today's service? Today's service is about a farmer who does really well. I was over at Annie's Berry Farm getting some blueberries yesterday, and it's a big bumper crop out there. The berries are doing really well, and so I'm thinking about, locally how about some of those folks that grow stuff and how our text might relate there. And it's kind of a message for what do we do when life is going well. And I think it's a good reminder, our gospel lesson this morning, that it's easy to go to God when you're worried, when you're stressed out, when things are falling to pieces, when we're anxious and don't know where else to turn. That's an obvious time to go to God. But it's equally important, and maybe even more challenging, to remember to go to God when things are going well. To remember to give thanks and celebrate. To remember how important faith is, even when things are going well. So our gospel lesson is a good reminder for that this morning, and today is a communion service to help remind us that God is present with us, that God's Spirit is in our bodies, that God goes with us wherever we may be. This is the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke, the 12th chapter. Someone in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the family inheritance with me." But he said to him, "Friend, who set me to be a judge or arbiter over you?" And he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." Then he told them a parable. The land of a rich man produced abundantly, and he thought to himself, "What should I do, for I have no place to store my crops?" Then he said, "I'll do this. I'll pull down my barns and build larger ones. And there I will store all my grain for my goods. And I'll say to my soul, 'Soul, you have ample goods laid up for many years. Relax, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you. And the things that you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God." That's the gospel of the Lord.
Praise be to God.
Well, it's back, the potato sermon. For those I was looking back, in the Lutheran Church we use a 3-year cycle of readings, and so I was looking back at my notes from 3 years ago and came across the notes for the potato sermon. And I thought, that was a really good way of helping us relate to this text and this message, and a good exercise. And I thought, we've got a lot of newer members who weren't here 3 years ago. And for those of us that were here, it's a good reminder. So here we are, potato sermon, with a couple little additions and variations. God's grace, mercy, and peace be yours this day, through Christ, our Savior and Lord. Amen. Did you know that almost half of the women in the U.S. fear becoming a bag lady? I'd be curious to take that survey here and wonder how many people are worried about what happens when they get a little older, if there will be enough there for retirement. We certainly hear about retirements drying up, the stock market. Well, actually, it's doing pretty well right now, but still people are worried that there won't be enough there. And the cost of living keeps going up and up. It's particularly scary amongst women. They might have good salaries, money in their purses, decent savings and investments, but still they're afraid that they'll wind up broke, forgotten, and destitute. Basically, bag lady. Not a term you hear necessarily all that often anymore, but I think we all understand what it means. According to the Washington Times, a survey found among 2,000 women revealed that 90% of them feel financially insecure. 2,000 women, 90% feel financially insecure. Half of them are troubled by what they describe as a tremendous fear of becoming a bag lady. A tremendous fear. And this anxiety actually increases as income goes up. Among those with annual incomes of more than $100,000, 48% of those women fear a life of destitution. Pretty amazing statistics. Among these women that would list these fears, Lily Tomlin, Gloria Steinem, Shirley MacLaine, Katie Couric, they all admit to having a bag lady in their anxiety closet, writes MSN Money columnist Jay McDonald. They all suffer from this bag lady nightmare. So what's going on here? Why is this such a concern? Why is this such a worry? Women have complicated fears about money, observes Judith Riles, a Denver financial advisor. They fear failure or making mistakes. They fear that a company may find them expendable. Because of this, women are twice as likely as men to set aside a secret stash of money. 2/3 of women surveyed said that the best thing about having money is the sense of security it brings. Men often crave power and status, especially the power and status that money may bring, but women are more focused on the security of having sound finances. It's interesting stuff because that's exactly what today's lesson is getting at, what the gospel is talking about how we feel about our financial standing, about how we understand our place in the financial world. Introduces us to a farmer who apparently does well, this parable that Jesus tells. I think another way of relating to this might be a little exercise that's written about in a book called Rich Christians in an Age of Hunger by Ron Sider. He makes the point very well about how far from really being poor that we are. We're not really poor at all. In his book, he uses this imaginative exercise, and I'd like to do that together now. Okay, so we imagine our home. You know, think of your house. You're in your home, your favorite seat. Now, we invade our house, and we begin by taking out all the furniture. What would your house look like with not a single stick of furniture? Everything goes. Beds, chairs, tables, TVs, lamps. We leave the family with a few old blankets, a kitchen table that you found at a garage sale, and one chair. One chair for the whole family? That's the average here. Along with the bureaus and dressers go all the clothing. Each member of the family may keep in their wardrobe an old suit or dress and a single shirt or blouse. No more need for walk-in closets, for sure. We'll permit one pair of shoes for the head of the household. Who's the biggest breadwinner in the household? Who gets the shoes? Everybody else goes barefoot. Actually, that sounds kind of nice, but not for long. Now we move to the kitchen. The appliances are gone. No more fridge or stove, no more microwave. The appliances are gone, so we turn to the cupboards. Box of matches may stay. The small bag of flour, a handful of sugar, some salt, and a few moldy potatoes that you have to fish out of the garbage because they'll provide the bulk of tonight's meal. We'll leave a handful of onions and a dish of dried beans, and the rest is gone. The meat, the fresh vegetables, the canned goods, the crackers, the candy, the ice cream, gone. All of it. Now that we've stripped the house, the bathroom is dismantled, the running water is shut off, the electricity is shut off, and the wire is taken out. Okay, let's go ahead and take away the whole house, and the family can move to the shed in the backyard. Communications go next. No more newspapers or magazines or books. Certainly no online access with no computers. But they're not missed anyway, really, since you take away the family's literacy as well. Instead, imagine all of your neighbors are going through the same process. That everyone is in the same boat. And our shanty town has one radio for the whole village. Now government services must go. No more postal service. No more firefighters. There's a school, but it's 3 miles away, and it has only 2 classrooms. There are no hospitals. No doctors. The nearest clinic is 10 miles away. Imagine that'd be almost to Salmon Creek if you're heading south. And it's tended by a midwife. It can be reached by bicycle, providing the family has a bicycle or you know someone that you can borrow one from. If you're not feeling well, you really want to ride a bike? Chances are family doesn't even have one. Finally, the money. tremendous cash hoard of $5. No more ATM cards, no more 401k plans, no more checkbook, no more secret stash of emergency money. Just $5. Tough to imagine how that might meet medical expenses should they come up, or a dental crisis. What happens if the kids get sick? Okay, everybody have your potato? It's important to know how to pray. And I think our lesson today, this parable that Jesus tells about the wealthy farmer, reminds us about the importance of noting the poor, of keeping the poor in mind. We get wrapped up in all these social justice kinds of things or social concerns, and really Jesus talks most often about the poor. We get a little uncomfortable talking about it, but this potato reminds you. Take this with you. And this week, put it as a centerpiece on your dinner table to remind you when you sit down to dinner, how many people around the world, and even in our immediate community, would see that potato as a feast. Some statistics from the Oregon Food Bank. The Oregon Food Bank is just across the river, and they've included Southwest Washington in their studies and in their surveys. They find that most adults who receive an emergency food box or emergency food assistance, like our Lewis River Mobile Food Bank offers, most of the adults who receive this are working, retired, or disabled. If you haven't taken time to get to know a few of the clients and realize the people that are receiving emergency food assistance, you may assume they're just being lazy, taking advantage of the situation. Why should we support a food bank? Most of them are working, retired, or disabled. Hunger is an income problem. The high cost of housing, healthcare, childcare, and fuel make it difficult for low-income families and individuals to have enough money to pay for food. Half of the households surveyed have at least one working adult. Half of the houses surveyed. 1/3 of the households surveyed have at least one adult working full-time. Now, I looked this up. The federal poverty level for a family of four, just as a kind of a baseline, is $23,500. $23,500 is an annual income for a family of four. Now, if minimum wage, the federal minimum wage is $7.25, you'd have to work 62 hours a week to meet the poverty level. Anything below that is considered severe poverty. 78% of the people surveyed by the Oregon Food Bank are living below the federal poverty line. 78%. Half of them reported that they've delayed medical concerns because they can't afford it, they can't pay for them. 2/3 said that they've delayed or skipped any kind of dental care because, again, they can't afford it. Almost 1/3 have no phone. How do you apply for a job if you have no phone? How do you find a job these days if you don't have a computer and the internet? That's what most companies are doing to advertise for work. With these folks that can't afford an internet connection. How do you do that? And again, 1/3 have no car. How do you get to an interview, let alone get to your job, if you have no transportation? When you think about our town, our area, our region here, I don't see a whole lot of buses coming by on a regular basis to take folks. Public transit is not the easiest. So you think about that potato. Think about the folks around the world and locally who would consider it a feast. Think about those folks locally who need our prayers and our help. And recognize how abundantly you have been blessed. This potato reminds you to give thanks for the gardens, for the produce, for the meat, the fish, the wonderful meals that we enjoy, and to pray and to work to help those who don't have as much. But God said to him, "You fool, this very night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself, what you've stored up? This is how it will be with those who store up things for themselves, but are not rich toward God." This potato is a reminder to give thanks, to pray regularly, to be rich toward God, to remember that our grounding in faith, our loving Creator, the grace that God shows us when we ask for forgiveness, these are the true gifts. That these are the blessings to store up, the delights to give thanks for each and every day.